What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about neuropsych evaluations. What are they? Why are they helpful? Why are they harmful? What to expect, and the do's and don'ts of independent medical examinations. Let's get into it. All right, so first off, what are neuropsych evaluations? A neuropsych evaluation is done by a neuropsychologist, and typically it's used to see if there's any cognitive deficits, memory, tasking, and problem solving. They are used when somebody has some sort of a brain injury or maybe a learning disability or something like that, just to see where people fall on a range. Why are they helpful? They can be helpful to identify some of the cognitive deficits that you might have, whether it's short-term memory, whether it's, recall, whether it is problem solving, any of those types of things. And it's also used to kind of measure your stamina because some of the neuropsych evaluations can be very long. They can vary from as little as 2 hours to as long as like 8 hours, something like that. So there are two different types of neuropsych evaluations. Also, there's one that is initiated by maybe like your own medical team, whether it's your neurologist or your PCP or your psychologist, anything like that. But there's also an IME, which is an independent medical examination, and that is typically done by a third party representative. So typically when you are dealing with an insurance company and you're on like long-term disability or workers' comp or anything like that, sometimes when your injury or your disability has gone on for an extended period of time and the insurance company feels like maybe too much time has gone past, so let's take a look and see what's going on here, they'll hire an outside person, third party, who doesn't know you and doesn't know the insurance company, and they will, kind of have them initiate the or administer the examination. So with the IME, it's a little bit different because there's definitely a lot of fishing that is going on there. And, I think their primary goal is to make their client happy. So although they say that they don't know and they're not being paid by the company and anything like that, there's definitely, in my opinion, a kickback for that. So the IMEs are definitely a bit different. They're going to be longer. They really want to like test you and stress you out. And my advice for that would be, don't push yourself to do more than you think that you can do. My mistake with my IME is I was extremely like way too honest, and they used all of that against me. So when they made up the report, they kind of cherry picked the positive things that I would say or things like that and sort of twist my words around. And then at the end of the day, it's your word versus theirs. So there's that. I will say that with my most recent neuropsych evaluation, it was a complete blindside. I thought these people understood what I was talking about. I thought they understood my condition. I thought that I was being very honest. I pushed myself to do like 7+ hours. I was completely drained. My brain fog was like through the roof. My fatigue levels were just extremely high. And, they sort of like disregarded any of that kind of thing. And because I performed normally or an average level, they deemed me, able to work full time and go back to my old job and do the tasks that I used to be able to do, which, it's one person that is meeting you one time for a couple of hours, and they are not seeing you in your everyday situation, in your everyday life. So there's definitely a downside to having an independent medical examination. And like I said, typically it will be done for people who are on long-term disability or workers' comp and things like that. And they will really, sometimes people think workers' comp is like worse than long-term or anything else, but they're both are equally as bad. They will really try to get you off of their plan. And the goal for them is they don't want to pay the money anymore. And I get that, but like I had tried to explain to the representatives, like, they have a job to do, but like it's our lives on the other end of it. And it, of course there are people that are going to like abuse the system, but it really does suck for the people who aren't and need that extra little bit of help. So, that's my kind of rant. So with that being said, the evaluations can be helpful because they can help determine, like where your cognitive deficits are at. But on the flip side of that, they can also be harmful depending on who is administering the evaluation and what the purpose of it is for. In my case, after my most recent evaluation, my long-term disability really kind of put me through the ringer, and they had a private investigator follow me around. They went through my social media. They kind of took, oh, well, she did well, an average, and even most of the like test results like weren't in the report. I had the evaluation done by one clinician, but then the report was written by another. So there was just a lot of like inconsistencies there. And then in the end result, my long-term disability was stopped. So, I lost out on money there that I need that, I can't put in those same like hours to make that money back. And it really is detrimental, and they don't really understand that it is, having a brain injury and having these persistent post-concussion symptoms that kind of vary from day to day, and just, they just don't understand how much it really affects your everyday life, and how like no 2 days are the same. And just because you look okay and normal on the outside, that your, cognition isn't thrown off, and everything's not just like, it's not cut and dry, it's not black and white. It's the whole like post-concussion is a very gray area. And people that don't live with it or don't know or haven't experienced it, they just have no real knowledge about the energy that it takes to just function on a daily basis at a normal level. They see you posting pictures on social media, so you must be okay. You're hanging out with your friends. You went to a wedding. You had a Halloween party, just as an example. And they're like, oh, well, you're fine. But they don't see, the stress that surrounds all of that, the energy that it takes to be around people, the fact that, you can drive, but you can't drive too far. And if you do it just a little bit too much, there's this like fine line that we walk. And if we kind of step left or right off of that line, then it throws our symptoms kind of into a tizzy. And, a lot of the medical professionals, they just do not understand that. So that's why it can be harmful, because it really can affect, and then you're affected financially, and that causes more stress, and the stress flares up your symptoms more. And it's just this kind of cycle that goes round and round and round. So, yeah, that's my experience with neuropsych evaluations. The first time I went, it was by a doctor recommended by my own doctor. They understood, talked to me, really took the results with like a grain of salt, and then saw that I was still struggling and took what I said like seriously and recommended therapies and things like that. And on the flip side, the independent medical examination was very, kind of intrusive. And then, like I said, they just kind of cherry picked the information that fit the narrative that they were trying to display in their report, which in the end was detrimental to my case, so to speak. That's my take on neuropsych evaluations. If you do have to do one, whether it's initiated by your own medical staff or by an insurance company, just make sure to get plenty of sleep. Don't stress about it. If you're talking to somebody who's not necessarily, on your case, on your team, really just give the bare minimum of information because, like I said, they will use it against you. And I was just taken aback to see that even with a long-term disability brain injury case, that I was followed around by a private investigator for 2 days, that they scoured my social media accounts and really held all that against me. And, it's just a step back in my progress and my recovery, because it just adds a lot of unnecessary stress to my whole situation. And hopefully, anybody watching can learn something from my experience and have a little bit of better understanding what is involved with neuropsych evaluations and how to navigate that moving forward. So hopefully this was helpful. If you have any questions or your own experiences with neuropsych evaluations, please definitely feel free to leave a comment down below. Like the video, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.